Welcome back to CIA Declassified. Today we step back into the early 1960s where the Cold War has moved from the battlefield into the very neurons of the human mind. The agency wasn't satisfied with just bugging rooms or tapping phones. They wanted to bug the human consciousness itself. They viewed the human skull not as a barrier, but as a broadcast tower that simply needed a receiver. It is 1961. While the public is fascinated by the promise of the space age, a darker frontier is being explored in Maryland. Scientists funded by the Technical Services Division are attaching electrodes to the scalps of unwitting subjects, trying to translate the faint electrical whispers of the brain into a language the agency can understand. They weren't just looking for truth, they were looking for a way to eavesdrop on consciousness itself. This was the focus of MKUltra Subproject 117. Why did this search for the soul end up with such a cold numerical title? Subproject 117 was a specialized branch of MKUltra. The factual reason for the name lies in the 100 series designations, which were reserved for biological and physiological research. The number 117 specifically marked the transition into bioelectric signaling. It was the agency's way of categorizing the human brain as a piece of communication hardware that needed to be tapped. The agency didn't just want to influence thoughts, they wanted to broadcast them. The core research of Subproject 117 involved the study of EEG patterns, the electrical activity of the brain, to see if specific thoughts produced repeatable signatures. A quote from a 1962 project status report: "The correlation between specific visual stimuli and the resultant cortical potentials suggests that a remote monitoring of cognitive state is a viable intelligence goal." End quote. A significant portion of the funding went to researching remote neural monitoring. This involved testing if high-frequency radio waves could be reflected off the human skull to pick up minute electrical changes happening inside. A quote from former CIA chemist Sidney Gottlieb: "We were looking for the biological radio. If the brain produces electricity, then that electricity must be capable of being intercepted." End quote. Subproject 117 tested subjects in shielded rooms to see if external electromagnetic fields could induce specific moods, like extreme anxiety or sudden euphoria, without the subject's knowledge. A quote from a declassified 1963 budget justification: "Proposed research into biotelemetering will allow for the monitoring of assets in the field without the need for traditional wiretaps or microphones." End quote. The agency investigated subliminal acoustic induction, trying to piggyback commands onto low-frequency hums processed by the brain's bioelectric system, but not the conscious ear. One experiment involved trying to read the muscle impulses of a person's vocal cords before they actually spoke, essentially trying to intercept internal monologue. By 1964, the project began exploring neural implantation, where tiny sensors were placed in the brains of animals to see if their behavior could be controlled via radio link. The hardware for 117 included the Stimoceiver, a miniature radio that could both record and stimulate brain activity, developed in conjunction with Yale University researchers. Documents suggest that the agency attempted to use these techniques on high-value targets during interrogations to determine if their biorhythms signaled a lie. The project's blueprints included a plan for a long-range sensor that could potentially read brain activity from a distance of up to 50 feet. Agency researchers utilized averaging computers to filter out the noise of general brain activity to isolate specific thought wave spikes. Operational files describe the silent sound device, an ultrasonic transmitter aimed at inducing specific brainwave frequencies and a target from an adjacent room. Testing protocols frequently involved sleep deprivation analysis to see if a tired brain was more susceptible to external bioelectric tuning. The project collaborated with the Department of Defense to see if fighter pilots could fly planes using only the bioelectric signals analyzed by 117-derived sensors. When we look at the declassified files, the most total blackouts are found in a document titled Universal Neural Sync and Satellite Relay. This file contains more redacted material than any other bioelectric document in history. Specifically, the section on mass cognitive capture, which is entirely vanished. Over 3,500 pages of non-invasive broadcast sync remain hidden. Why is the agency hiding the career of the 117 tech after the 1960s? Get ready for the theory of the thought broadcast. Speculations suggest wireless signals from Wi-Fi to cellular towers are actually being used to upload our thoughts directly to the index. This theory claims the 3,500 missing pages describe a neural mesh where the very air we breathe is thick with the frequencies needed to ping your brain. Some imagine the redacted pages of the urban signal integration hide a mood management program. This theory argues the agency uses the electrical grid to broadcast low-level compliance signals into our homes. Theorists looking at the blacked-out retrospective neural imaging argue that the agency can watch your memories like a movie. They claim the redactions hide a program where sensors can trigger a bioelectric recall and download your entire past. Gossip suggests the black bars in the neural modeling mapping section hide the creation of a thought twin. This theory posits the agency has used 117 data to build a digital version of your brain that thinks exactly like you do. Rumor says the interactive acoustic feedback redactions hide evidence that voice assistants are actually 117 sensors. They claim the redactions prove your smart speaker is using ultrasonic pulses to read the bioelectric state of your brain. Some believe the redacted pages hide a correction program. This theory suggests the agency can delete specific thoughts by hitting the brain with a counter frequency. Speculation persists that the redactions in the REM state interception section prove the agency is monitoring us while we sleep, planting ideas in the minds of world leaders. Fringe gossip argues the redacted sections describe mental advertising, where the agency sells thought slots to corporations to make you suddenly crave a product. Whispers from the dark web suggest the redacted pages hide files on epigenetic signal transferring, and that the index can read ancestral memories stored in your bioelectric field. A wild theory claims the missing pages describe how the agency uses 117 tech to swap thoughts between two people, essentially hijacking identities. Conspiracy enthusiasts argue that the harmonic convergence modeling redactions hide the CIA's secret, that they can make an entire nation feel the same emotion at once. Lastly, whispers suggest the redactions are so heavy because they prove that the current world is already neural-locked, and the agency can turn off the world's ability to think at all. Was Subproject 117 a success? Tactically, it was a pioneer program. While they couldn't read minds like a book in 1961, they successfully mapped the geography of the brain. Strategically, it was a stealth masterstroke. It provided the foundation of modern nonverbal interrogation. As the files suggest, the neural shadow didn't disappear. It just moved from the lab into the air around us. As far as technological and operational breakthroughs go, the neural shadow led to breakthroughs that define the neurotech landscape today, such as remote mood induction, the standard for crowd control using high-frequency systems, brain signature identification, developing protocols for neurovetting, micro-stimuloceiver technology, the foundation for modern neural implants, and cerebral frequency mapping, the database that allows the agency to tune surveillance to an individual's signature. Subproject 117 reminds us that the ultimate privacy, the silence of your own head, is something the agency has been trying to break for 60 years. Thanks for listening, and join us next time as we examine the Aunt Jemima explosive. In World War II, the OSS, the CIA's predecessor, smuggled high-yield explosives past Nazi guards using edible flour. We'll uncover the edible ordnance blueprints and the sabotage sourdough manifest. Join us next time for the baker's bomb. In the meantime, I'll see you in the archives.